Ready to go, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Good Friday.
Yes.
It's not just the first Friday, it's Good Friday. And we are coming to you live here in the wonderful city of Sullivan, the amazing city of Sullivan, the resilient city of Sullivan. Here we are live on Facebook Live here this morning. And John, we're usually live on WNDI 95.3, but obviously with the storm damage, we've had a few technical difficulties. So
we have no phone lines. So we can't broadcast without phone lines. So, but we're here though.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for coming in. This show is always sponsored by Country Financial. Brian, Gina Mills, Country Financial, located in beautiful downtown Sullivan on North Court Street, just north of the Courthouse Square. Be sure to stop in and see them today for all your financial and insurance needs. So
that's auto, home, life, and business and retirement needs. So Brian and Gina, you can call them at 812-564-5002.
Absolutely. So
we thank them.
Yeah, we're trying to keep things as normal as possible, so to speak. So we definitely wanted to come to you this morning. Obviously, the biggest topic is the tornado and the natural disaster that has affected so many in our community. Unfortunately, taken the lives of three of our fellow Sullivanites and our family here in the community, and then just the amounts of people that have been dislocated, so to speak, and their homes just totally gone and totally gone. Yeah, devastation. So it's been tough. It's been a rough time, obviously, since last Friday. So we're going to try to keep you up to date on all of the things taking place there and going on there. And at the same time, talk about the things that are going on in the community outside of the natural disaster, right? All the things that happened in March and the days that lay ahead. And all the great things to come. We also have a guest on our show this morning. It's going to be joining us here in a little bit. But John, let's just kind of kick it off here and get your thoughts.
This was
everybody's heard a lot from me over this past week and different folks, so you kind of want to share.
Sure. This was a travesty that happened, and it kind of, in a way, came out of nowhere. We normally have these storms come in, and we have the bluff come in, and it bounces off the bluff and it goes north or south of us or over our head, but this one unfortunately went right through us. Kudos to everybody who has volunteered, because the volunteerism, as I said on the radio, is the fact it has been overwhelming. As horrible, as destructive as this storm was, how positive it's been for the volunteerism that have helped people that these people don't even know. In many cases, they've come out and devoted their time, and they've donated food and whatever, water and whatever they needed. And so it's been devastating in some respects, but it's also been very heartwarming to see all the love that's been poured out to those who are in need. And I know many people have seen the devastation either on the video or they've seen it on pictures, or they've maybe even driven by it. But, until you see it up close, you just don't really understand how devastating it is.
Sure. And we've talked about this week, there's a lot of folks from around the state that have called and reached out and, asked how can we help? Their hearts are broken that they're really reaching out to us. And like you said, they see what's maybe on the news. They see a drone footage of the bird's eye view of the devastation. They see pictures. People have, done Facebook Lives down there. They've done videos down there. But until you actually walk the grounds, and it's surreal. I mean, you really don't feel the entire impact until you get to that area, which, like we've said before, was about 3 blocks north and south, and about 6-7 blocks east-west about 6 blocks in the city. Then, of course, outside the city, it went on for, just continued east.
Yes.
And ripped through homes and, actually, unfortunately, took the lives of somebody out on the east side of the city.
But Clint, I don't know anybody who knows more about the history of this town than you do, but when was the last time we had a tornado that actually did damage to the city of Sullivan?
It's funny. Last week, I always refer to In Times Past, right? I talk about that article a lot on the show from the Sullivan Daily Times, which is every Wednesday. You can pick up an edition of that. And just last week, in 1913, there was a devastating tornado in Terre Haute. I saw the headline.
Okay.
It was so ironic. It was in Wednesday's paper. The headline says tornado across the top from 1913, and then Friday night we go through that. But as far as Sullivan, I know that I believe there was one in the 70s that tore up maybe a few buildings, but Nothing even close like this. And I'm not even sure if they were official tornadoes or if they were just strong, heavy winds and gusts of winds that caused structural damage. I don't know. So I know, and we've all been scrambling this week, of when the last time is. You mentioned this earlier, and I don't know if it's true. I don't know if the bluff really did protect us or if it was just a myth that we thought it would, right? Because obviously, I think that's why a lot of people around here, over time, when they would hear about tornado watches and tornado warnings, growing up here, you always heard, well, I know it's coming, but it's probably not going to affect us because of the bluff.
Sure, right.
I mean, I've heard that my entire life, and then obviously, that's not the way it was this time. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, our hearts are heavy, and John, the balancing act here. Well, there's a lot of things that you have to juggle and balance. To mourn alongside and with those for the ones that were lost. I mean, some people say, well, you're lucky you only had 3 fatalities, and I don't know if lucky is the word for it. I mean, I get what folks are saying because you saw the mass devastation in such a dense area, right? And it is a miracle that those folks, but one life lost is one too many. And so you're mourning during this time with those families because they not only lost loved ones, they also loved their homes. And a lot of times, like in the case of the one family, they lost the homes and the siblings' homes, and like multiple family members were affected. And I know they've issued a statement to the media. And I also know that there's a blessing in this whole thing because, I just talked to one of the sisters of Susan yesterday, and, she says, who would have ever thought, that any of this would have happened? I mean, imagine this. You get up Friday morning and everything's just changed just like that. Yeah. And your community's changed forever. But the outpouring of love and support has also been so inspirational. You've heard this said before that, we live in a crazy world of polarization and just nastiness and people that are constantly pit against each other. And I've seen religious barriers drop this week. I've seen political lines that don't even matter, haven't even been brought up. I've seen county, city relationships that I'm going to go out on a limb. It actually felt good to be with the county officials, John.
Yes, sure.
And we haven't always agreed on ideology, right? But it wasn't one of those things that like, well, here we go. We have to go in with these guys. For whatever reason, there was a calming peace that came across. And I actually enjoyed sitting and talking with some folks that I definitely don't agree with probably on a lot of things. But I haven't felt any of the resentment or I know there's been some social media chatter.
Right.
And that's normal. As bad as it is, and I hate maybe the way some of our tornado victims have been treated, have been affected. Full disclosure, that hasn't happened by any city employees, regardless of what you hear. That's terrible. That is somewhat normal.
Yeah.
When you go through a time like this, there are a lot of different people. There are a lot of different personalities. There are a lot of different folks that are coming in from the outside. And while the majority is stepping up, I believe here, 99% are doing things out of the kindness, out of their hearts. You're always going to have those people, right, John? And unfortunately, sometimes those actions kind of go viral, so to speak, and then they taint the entire process. But I'm here to tell you with a full conviction that is a 1 in 2 incidents. And I can give you tens of thousands of testimonies, tens of thousands, not hundreds, not thousands. And John, there's going to be a lot of witness and a lot of testimony that we're never going to hear about. Right?
All right, sure.
Because it's so much beyond us. It's so much bigger than us. We've said this for 12 years, John. It's more than a mayor. It's the intangibles. It's the things that you can't see. Are we going to build back? Absolutely. We're going to build back better than we've ever been before. But the most important part is spiritually and emotionally, the spirit of this community was already growing.
Right.
We knew it. We've seen it. We've experienced it. And the only difference is now the rest of the world is seeing how special it is here in the city of Sullivan. So I guess that's a quick, I know it might seem long-winded, but truly of everything that's been going on in here, it's somewhat of a short version. And I just can't stress enough that it's going to be okay. As distraught as people are, when you're walking down the street and people are melting physically and emotionally in your arms, and you're holding them up, literally, physically. You're not just holding them up. I mean, you're physically holding them up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was an experience that I haven't quite gone through, but we were prepared for this moment. You're never totally prepared for a natural disaster, but the amazing people and the love of this community prepared us for this time.
Let's go back to that night when the storm hit, and we all heard the tornado sirens, and we knew that it was coming. We didn't know exactly what.
12 minutes we knew it was coming.
Yeah. We didn't know exactly where it was going to hit exactly because we couldn't know. So obviously you're aware of what's going on. Your first impression when you went out to the site, right at the first time, I mean, it was dark. I know it might have been hard to see everything. But what was it that you thought of when you first got to the scene?
Well, before I arrived at the scene, just like everybody else, how's my family? Where is my family? John, I talk about my kids a lot on this show, and I've got 5. Got 1 in Florida, and who would ever thought he was the safest from a natural disaster, which, he had experienced a little bit, but nothing close in St. Augustine a couple months ago when the disasters were in Florida. Where's Kennedy? Which I knew where she was, but you forget where she was. It was the mental check box. Okay, she's in Terre Haute. Where's Nevaeh? I'm not sure. I looked earlier, and she was in Paris, Illinois. Then she was in Farmersburg. Is she okay? Jocelyn's on her way home from spring break. I'm not quite sure. Are we in Tennessee or are we close to home? And Hadley Rose was the only one that was home. So we had just come back from Chicago that day. She's the only one that really didn't get to leave for spring break, so we wanted to see the Cubs home opener.
Right.
It's a great time at Wrigley Field. My cousin Bob actually contacted me and said, we saw you on WGN, the news. We wish it was because you were here for the opening day of baseball, but it wasn't. So we get home and she's not feeling well. So we stop by the quick care clinic. She's running a temperature. She's in bed. I go into her room and I said, we got to go down into the basement. Dad, I don't want to get up. I'm not feeling good. So we bundle her up, go downstairs. So you can't call anybody.
Right.
Power goes out. You have no power. Jamie goes up and grabs the candles. We go into the basement, and so I'm trying to contact everybody in my family. When I at least hear their voices, they can't hear me back, and I know everybody's okay there. I got to get out of here. And there's people we got to take care of, and there's people we got to check on. And so immediately get out of my pajamas, run upstairs, change clothes, and we head. And where are you going?
Yeah.
Where are you heading to? So you immediately come to the downtown area, and then I come by City Hall. I see lights on at City Hall, and people had already started kind of ascending up here. It's not like we had to call the city officials. We didn't have to call the city staff. People just stepped up and started coming in and taking care of things, and that was something else. One of my earliest calls from outside the city was Mayor Joe Yoakum for the city of Vincennes.
Okay.
Because Knox County EMA was one of the first to respond, because you've heard the story where Jim Purtle was on his way to pick up a truck and on his way home, and my radio was working, and I kept hearing all the, well, go here, go there, somebody needs help here, somebody's trapped here, and you heard all these things, and then somebody was saying, where's EMA 1's wife? Where's she at? Can we check on her? And they're trying to get to her, and you can't get through the roads because trees are down, and then because the trees are down, now there's power lines down. So you want to rush to the scene, but at the same time, you've got to be safe. You don't need somebody to get electrocuted.
Right, right, yeah.
So it's kind of mass chaos there for a while. We saw so many first responders coming in from so many different areas. I heard on the radio that somebody was out on Sinclair Street screaming, "Help, help." So everybody was kind of doing this, and Scott Brown, city council person, was the first to arrive up here at City Hall with me, and he's like, "What do I do?" And I'm like, "What do I do?" And they're like, "Let's just get in together." So we just got in the vehicle together, and we started kind of going around the community and trying to do what we could, shutting down streets, assisting, listening to radio. We go to EMA. We went out to Sinclair with a couple firefighters, and we're just knocking on doors because we'd heard a report that somebody was yelling help out there.
Right.
So it's 2:00 in the morning by this time, and people are coming to the door. Of course, everybody was awake probably.
Yeah.
But they were in their homes with no power, bunkered down, and we're just knocking on the door, and they're coming to the door, and we're talking to people. First time I actually went on into the impacted area, Mayor Joe Yoakum had called me. "You need me to come up?" No, I don't. You don't want to rush anybody in until you evaluate really what you got going on. So about an hour later, I go into the EMA building, and Mayor Joe's there, and I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I just wanted to come up." So he and I jumped in the car, and we just kind of went around, and we were one of the first when we could see that areas were clear for power lines down. We walked through the scene, and we were the only ones there at that time, except for people around us, all the first responders. And I apologize. This is just now probably the first time that I can really remember, some of the things. And I remember being out there with nothing but a flashlight on my phone. So it's pitch black because the power in the entire city is out, other than EMA and City Hall, which is another story in itself, right?
Okay.
The fact that this facility was here and able to be utilized and did have a phone line and did have underground utilities for the joint.
Amazing.
We just talked about this at the last show
Yes, we did.
when Josh Zerner was here.
Yeah.
Now, it's not about the utilities, but it just registered.
That's
We
amazing.
talked about the underground,
Yeah.
and didn't we say in the midst of a storm or severe weather, you'll be operational?
Yeah, right. We did.
Go in the archives to the March edition of this show.
Yeah.
And boom.
That is amazing.
And to have the resources and the Resource Center, the one-stop shop that we're going to talk about here in a minute. But back to the scene. All you saw was the low light of your flash of our lights on our phone. And it was like a movie. It was like a scripted scene because it was so quiet, peaceful, but the car was crumpled up, shoved to the side of the road sideways, or this one was picked up and turned upside down. Or you look over at the liquor store and 3/4 of the building's gone, but the wall with the bottles perfectly set
Yeah, right.
are exposed.
Yeah.
Our Father's Arms, you saw the damage from the back. So you were able to see a lot of it, but it was so dark and there were so many trees and debris down that you couldn't see everything. But it was like the movie Independence Day. You remember when they come in and that's exactly what it looked
Did you hear
like.
people on those side streets?
Didn't hear anybody. It was very quiet down in that area, in the impacted area.
So did those people get out? Is that what you
So
feel?
the one-on-one conversations I've had with folks, a lot of people bunkered down, right, in that impacted area. People were stuck in their basements, crawled out. By the time we had got to the scene, a lot of those people had. And I think I even asked the question, where is everybody?
Yeah.
Where did everybody go? Because it was, I mean, you saw a few people, getting their things like that, but a lot of people I think had just stayed bunkered down in their homes. There were minor injuries, so it's not like there were tons of people getting transported out.
Right.
Heard stories where, a couple were laying in bed and the roof came off and she rolled over onto her husband and they rolled over onto the floor. You heard people crawling to their doorway, talked to individuals that were in their basements, and then the house came in on top of them. They had to move debris to come up out of the basement.
Amazing.
It was to hear these stories when you walk through the streets down there. Folks that have just recently lost loved ones, lost other loved ones during this, and that have been going through challenging times anyways, and now their entire world is gone here. So...
Amazing.
Yeah. But, I will say this, when I had the privilege and honor speaking with all of the citizens, or as many as possible at the EMA building this week, we met at noon, to hear their stories directly. they're forever changed. But the resilience, I keep going back to that. It's something else.
One thing more about that. You mentioned Jim Pirtle. Obviously, his home unfortunately was hit pretty hard.
Sure.
And he said his wife was involved in that. I mean, how is Robin?
She's good. We were up here last night with the county officials going over our FEMA response, going over finances. So you have so many administrative things you're doing at the same time, and you're trying to be on the scene, and you're trying to bring in federal officials, and you're trying to keep the public and the media updated. And, she was walking out after the meeting, and I just had to go over to her and said, I just got to give you a hug. And I told her for the first time that I kept hearing her name. Has anybody seen Robin Pirtle? I mean, Robin Pirtle's like family to me.
Sure.
Amazing woman, amazing family that have just given themselves to this community for years. And you talk about just hearing those names of going over your city radio. And I said, man, and she didn't realize all that radio traffic was going on. And I heard somebody said, let EMA1 know we found her. We're getting to her right now. So as they were approaching her, finding her at her home, and I'll let Jimmy tell the story. He had been on the phone with her as it was happening.
Right.
And I can only imagine being on the phone with Jamie.
Oh my goodness, yeah. The whole thing was.
As you can hear all this going on, and you I think it's the feeling of helplessness. That there's nothing you can do.
And then you lose connection. It's like, God,
and one thing, I told you it was like surreal when we were looking at this initial debris. And each day I go down to the disaster area, I never thought in a million years I would say, wow, this looks great. Each day, so quickly, the response, the recovery, the team we've put together to move these things through, it literally looks, it as bad as it looks today, it looks better every single day down there. So yeah, gave her a hug the other day. And there's so many other stories I could tell of one-on-one conversations I've had with folks, but this is what it's all about,
Absolutely. It is.
About people, loving your brother as you love yourself. I mean, these are the things that we're supposed to be doing, but it's unreal. But I've been saying this all week. I cannot emphasize, we're kind of revisiting the impact time, right? But we're going to go through phases where, and now it's the recovery honeymoon where everybody's hunky-dory and everybody's happy and we're celebrating how we're coming through this. But there is going to be a time of even more anxiousness.
Anxiety, yes.
There's going to be a time of dissolution where they think, what's going on? The wheels of government, the wheels of assistance aren't moving fast enough. And, these 30-day vouchers that, Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch, she was one of the first to come to Sullivan. She was the first outside official to be here, and she talked about the IHCDA and got us in touch and made sure that the people of this community had the vouchers they needed for that immediate help. And so they have those 30-day vouchers, but John, day 31's coming.
Yeah.
Another thing you ask, we talk about where were these folks, and here's a testament to this community. When I came to City Hall, since we were the only show in town, so to speak, with power, and we had the council chambers, and we had the fitness area that no fitness equipment had been brought into yet. Salvation Army was able to set up some cots for that first night. So you had John Pirtle up here, Jimmy's brother, who's in his wheelchair, who lost his home and watched it bust open as it was all unfolding. Had another family and a few others up here. Before they went to Abundant Grace, that they moved after that. I don't remember what I was saying. Sorry. Why I was talking about that.
Yeah.
I apologize. I'm literally having these mental health moments or whatever. But what was I saying right before that?
You were talking about being here and after being the hub.
Yeah.
And that's about the Suzanne Crouch and about the
yeah. The housing. I'm sorry. Yes. I apologize. It's been a long week, John.
Yes.
Day 31's coming. So like I said, you immediately took care of them there. And then, but they'll be put up for the next 30 days. Why people weren't around. That's it.
Yes.
My apologies. the testament to the community. We gave a lot of vouchers out, but not nearly as many as we thought we were going to have to give. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's a testament because church families, friends mm-hmm. have taken a lot of these people in.
Yeah.
So that's where this initial honeymoon, that's what was on a slide when I was in a meeting yesterday.
Yes, right.
But that can't last forever.
Right. But that is amazing because
it's amazing how they stepped up. As a mayor, now you're thinking, I can't just be here for them today.
Yeah.
We got to make sure these people have longer term. So we're talking about today and all the cleanup, mm-hmm. and I'm thinking about day 31 when those vouchers run out. That was my point.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, but you mentioned at a press conference the other day that out of the whatever it was, 90 or 100 people that have been dispersed, only 5 or 6 had to actually go to a hotel. I mean,
no, more have gone to hotels since then.
Okay.
Initially, I believe the shelters had like 7 to 10.
Okay.
Out of the
But that's still amazing that people.
200 structures were affected. Probably, I know in the city, probably 70 to 90 actually households. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So it's probably wasn't just one person living in a lot of those households. So you do the math there.
Right.
We're getting numbers and demographics now. FEMA did their windshield assessment. I know the county emergency management has been going through this. So that's what I'm asking for my team. I need a demographic. I need a spreadsheet. Yeah. How many were insured? How many were not insured? And I don't want to give a statistic yet, but it's a pretty high percentage of uninsured.
Right.
So what resources can they get from the IHCDA, from the Red Cross and things like that? So we talked a little bit about the initial what happened, and I don't want to sit on that forever because I do want to make sure we continue to provide information. We're trying not to have any more press conferences and things like that. We're trying to really communicate through press releases, press statements, and also through the city's social media as much as possible. And emergency management has asked me to be the PIO, the Public Information Officer. So if you're thinking, why in the world does he keep coming back? We're trying to streamline our message through all this stuff. And we're also coordinating with VOAD. That's the Volunteer Organizations Active in Disaster. Because you have a lot of these different organizations and the cavalry, right, is ascended upon Sullivan, which is great, and we appreciate that. But you also have to be careful with some of that. We also can't emphasize enough how important it is if you are here in Sullivan to volunteer, if you're coming from out of town to volunteer, whether you're with an organization or an individual, whether you're with a school, whatever. You have to get registered. Please get registered because your time and effort actually gives us credit. We can put a dollar value on each hour that you spend here in Sullivan because the way FEMA works, if we are declared and we are receiving the FEMA money, they'll reimburse 75% of these expenses. Well, John, I promise you, even at 75%, which is phenomenal, there's still going to be a 25% gap, and it's going to be a financial blow to the city and the county. So one of the things we talked about last night, we have to get these things logged, whether it's through the Sullivan Civic Center you can log in, whether it's through emergency management. We have to have all this information because there is a rate. If John Montgomery goes down and spends 3 hours doing whatever, and it doesn't have to be cleaning up. Are you making phone calls? Are you taking a meal somewhere? Are you doing these things? You get an hourly rate. I'm going to throw out a number. Let's say it's $20 an hour.
Okay.
Right? That those 3 hours, you just contributed $60 worth of value that we can apply to that 25% match, so to speak.
Gotcha.
So, another thing I want to make sure people understand that FEMA's not going to be the cure-all. I've said for the entire 12 years I've been in office where a lot of folks didn't understand that there's no magic grant that solves everybody's problems, right? There was never a grant that said, remember how many times we would get a grant? Well, how come you can put that towards streets, but you can't put it towards whatever?
Yes,
and
right.
you name it. Well, because it's not for that.
Right.
It's the same here. And quite frankly, FEMA's not going to cover enough. And that's where VOAD comes in and starts managing and starts bringing all of the civic organizations together and makes sure all of our resources. So let's say you get $1 million here. Well, VOAD can go out and get money from here, and here, and then bring it to the table as well.
Okay.
So just know that your officials are doing everything they can to maximize the resources. That's why we continue to bring in elected officials and a shout out to Governor Holcomb and Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch. Diego Morales, Secretary of State, was here. Senators Braun, Senator Young, State Senator Eric Bassler, State Senator John Ford, State Representative Bruce Borders have all come to the area. And then, of course, the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs in Washington, D.C. at the White House has been in close contact with me as well. So you name it, from City Hall through the state to D.C., we're calling everybody we possibly can.
Right.
And sometimes, the conversation I had with the folks the other day, they're going through a vulnerable time. Now, John, if your home is literally ripped apart and your life is on display for the whole world to see, you probably don't necessarily want a television camera recording your vulnerability, do you? Right?
Right. That's for sure.
However, it is so important that the people of this community keep telling this story. The reason why this story has to continue to be told so we can continue to get the message out to receive the resources we need, whether that's through government or whether that's through the heart of people all across Indiana and all across the country. I can't emphasize enough how important it is for long-term recovery that the story gets told, not just the mayor coming on the First Friday show, but the folks that are directly impacted tell somebody, share somebody. It's therapeutic. It really is.
Right.
Whether you realize it or not, no, I'm not strong enough right now. I just can't do it right now. We need you to tell the story. And if possible, with all due respect, and if you can't, you can't. That's okay. But it's so important that people continue to give this message. And it's so important that we bring these elected officials into the impacted zone to see it. Because like we said at the beginning of the show, it's more impactful. You get the full effect whenever you're there. So that's the why. So some people are thinking, well, why are we in the media so much over this, right? Well, because we want to continue to tell the Sullivan story, right? And not just me. Everybody needs to tell the Sullivan story.
Right.
And why are you trotting these elected officials in when we're trying to clean up our homes here? So there's your why. Don't always look at what's going on, but there's always a reason and why. And we're down there whether they're here or not. So what VOAD does, it kind of takes all of these things and kind of puts them together. So.
Well, this is our monthly chat with the mayor. We do every first Friday of the month, normally on WNDI as well, but without any phone lines. Hopefully Frontier will get those in sometime today. But this particular show, we're just doing it on Facebook Live. And with Clint Lamb, I'm John Montgomery. It's nice to have with us. It's all brought to you by Gina Mills Country Financial Services at 21 North Court Street right here in Sullivan. You can see Brian or Gina for all of your auto, home, life, business, and also retirement needs. And we thank them for sponsoring our show again here today on Facebook Live. Okay.
John, we're going to break up the show a little bit here, and we do have a guest with us today.
Sure.
And then we'll come back after our guest and talk about some of the different things, obviously tornado related, but it is so important that we have respect and take care of the tornado victims. Number one priority, to love those families. We must continue to move on as a community. There are going to be other things that are going to be going on in the community. There were events in March before this, and there's going to be events coming up because and this is what's eerie. This area, so it's not a hurricane that just tears up an entire community. These tornadoes go in a very straight path. So you have chaos, confusion, and mass destruction in a block north, a house north.
Nothing.
People are raking up some limbs in the yard.
Right.
So we must balance respectfully the two. And that's why I think it's so important, John. We have had a lot of great things outside this natural disaster going on in the community. One of those great things is welcoming, and unfortunately I wasn't able to be there at their official grand opening, but I do know over the winter they had a kind of an open house to get kind of affiliated with the community. And that is Recovery Cafe located on the south side of the square. So at this time, without any further ado, we would like to welcome Lindsey Skelton. Correct? Is that correct?
Yep.
Lindsey, pull up a chair here. Sit here with us. We appreciate your patience and kind of waiting here. And we had scheduled this guest to come on the show a while back. So, right? But we wanted to make sure she still came on the show to be able to discuss. And the reason why, you talk about the timing as we recover from a natural disaster. recovery is so important. So we felt like it was so important that she still came on the show. Talk about what's going on at Recovery Cafe. For those of you that are not quite sure where Recovery Cafe is located, it's located on the south side of the square, and basically in partnership with Sweet Peas. When I know Sweet Peas has stepped up and done a lot of relief during this time, bringing in goods and services there, helping coordinate, just stepping up and doing, along with the Sullivan Moose Lodge, along with Abundant Grace, Salvation Army, Red Cross, every business, every church, from Methodist to the First Christian Church to Crossroads, you name it.
Yes.
All these things are going. But the Recovery Cafe is located in the heart of the community, and it is about recovery, and it's about recovery of individuals, right? That have had some challenges in life.
Yes.
And now, did you ever think it would be amplified on a grander stage? So, Lindsey, I'll turn it over to you if you don't mind just sharing with us what Recovery Cafe, the heart of it's all about. And you talk about a God thing and praying that you're put here at this time. Can you kind of share what's going on with you guys?
Yeah, it's definitely a God thing. So Recovery Cafe is actually part of a national network. There's 58 of them across the country, 14 of them in the state of Indiana. So we are a program of Next Step out of Terre Haute. We have a Recovery Cafe in Terre Haute, and we are super excited to bring one here. And Recovery Cafe is a love-based peer community. It's really just a space for a safe, healing environment for people to come together, for people to connect. It's like our ABCs are acceptance, belonging, and community. And it's so important. Like, people need each other. Connection is the opposite of addiction. And that's what we provide a space for that. And so our definition of recovery is the journey away from whatever keeps us from being our best, truest selves. And so it's not just one thing or the other. It's everyone's in recovery from something.
Sure. Yeah.
And the City of Sullivan is in recovery from something so much bigger than we never would have wanted to imagine.
Yes.
And in times when people are vulnerable, we saw this during the pandemic. You know, this has a mental health, obviously, element.
Oh, wow, yes.
Element to this. So the fact that people are going to be hurting and struggling, they're going to turn to something. So could you kind of talk about that a little bit, your experience? You've helped people for a lot of years that needed to turn to something. So where do you fit in that?
Well,
You're overall the organization and this particular center. Or is it too early to say of what role you're going to play and maybe being there for some of those folks that I know you're going through a tough time. Don't turn to this, turn to us. Is that a fair statement of what you can provide to people listening here?
Yeah, so I have a broad idea of what we plan to offer. Currently, the space is really a resource center.
Yeah.
So we have hot meals every day. We have clothes and food. And we're trying to work with our Father's Arms because we know they've lost their space to try and offer them some extra space. We currently have Loads of Hope, the Tide truck that's doing laundry today and tomorrow.
And
Anybody can come.
It smells so good downtown. Oh my gosh, it's like that feeling, that emotional feeling you get when you go downstairs and somebody's doing laundry at my house. And it's just like, now it's happening throughout the downtown area.
Yeah, and that's open to anybody. So please just come and you can drop off your laundry. They will do it for you and then return it to you. So
amazing.
One thing I noticed, the messaging, obviously we're focusing on the victims of the natural disaster, but we also know there's a bigger need and there's a bigger issue here, that especially with Our Father's Arms being down. Our Father's Arms was an outreach for many for a long time, right? For steady. So not only are we providing relief here for the victims of this natural disaster, there's still that ongoing need of people that were needing it before the tornado. And I try to carve out kind of, and that's what I see kind of what your resources are doing there.
Well,
not just people, not just tornado victims are the only ones to come in, but also, I'm sorry, we have something beeping here. Not only tornado victims, but also just people in general that need help.
Well, and really the entire community of Sullivan is a victim of this tornado,
Sure.
right? Like the traumatic impact of that.
You have a friend or a family.
Yeah,
You're just
this is a close knit community, and really like for me coming here and just seeing the outpouring of support. There's just been volunteers everywhere. I was out delivering food actually to the people working in like the ground zero space of all of it
Sure.
on Monday. And then we've been in the space, just people have been coming in because they need things or they just want to do something because people want to stay busy.
But since this has hit last Friday night, are some of your services like suspended for a while because you're helping so many people in a different way now?
Yeah, so you'd mentioned our grand opening. We did not have our grand opening.
okay
Because
of this.
yes. So
a new one was scheduled in there somewhere.
yes, so we're going to reschedule that. It's not on a calendar yet because right now we want to be able to provide the support and resources that Sullivan needs.
Sure.
And we like it's not exactly the model of Recovery Cafe.
Yes, right.
So we do want to continue to work towards being able to offer that. It's going to look very different for quite a while.
We haven't had an open house here at City Hall, but what an open house. We've had more people in here probably than we ever anticipated.
Sure.
So yeah, what a grand entrance, so to speak. So
Well, and we're really looking. We're trying to collect volunteers, specifically getting some therapists involved. I actually offer something called AccuDetox. It's actually really good for stress and anxiety. It's auricular ear acupuncture. It actually helps to release trauma from the body and helps people sleep better and calm. These are all things that we want to do for free. And then support groups. And you talked about like the value of talking about it,
Sure.
right? There's the value of bringing in like telling the story, but there's also like there's a healing value
Absolutely.
in just
Yeah.
being able to talk about it. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's hard. The acupuncture actually is one of those things that helps release, and they usually do support groups after those things in different types of recovery centers. But it can be good for so many different things, and just kind of moving the energy of the trauma through the body so you're not holding on to it, because that really does lead to like even worse things that happen. Like specifically like disease can happen because we hold trauma in the body. And so if we don't find ways to let go of it,
Right.
and whether that's
it can
through
cause
talking,
physical ailments or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
The mental health affects so many different things that people really don't realize. And one of the services that were provided, and I can't remember the name of her company, but the Scroggins gal, she Kristen Scroggins, yeah, she was up here doing massage. She was offering massages up here at City Hall. I walked back in the back before they set up for the one-stop shop, and there's a masseuse table sitting back there. And I'm like, these are the things
Yes.
you never,
Yeah.
like whatever way this community can provide relief, whether it's through Recovery Cafe, whether it's through a tide to get your laundry done, providing a hot meal. John, as we were sitting here, I watched the Salvation Army just walk in here. They have fed staff here at City Hall. Thank you. We have so many leftovers, though, Salvation Army. Thank you for continuing to provide meals up here for the officials and the people coming in and out.
nice.
My gosh, it's crazy. It's an overabundance. But yeah, so many different ways to recover and heal.
There's also this need to provide some normalcy, right? So this is Easter weekend,
Right.
right? So we actually have the Easter Bunny and like 100+ Easter baskets coming to Sweet Peas Recovery Cafe. So please come get some Easter baskets.
Read a lot about Easter baskets. I know folks at the United Methodist Church. I know my wife Jamie and Amber. We're all Easter basketing right now, aren't we? We're kind of getting ready to make sure that, like you said, the sense of normalcy and taking care of people's coming up this weekend. So,
Well,
anything else you have for us?
Well, I'm reminded so much. My experience of this week here reminds me of the Mr. Rogers quote that his mother gave him the advice when he would see scary news, like when disasters
love
would
this.
happen. Look for the helpers,
Yes.
and they're everywhere.
Oh
so
my gosh.
it's been really beautiful in the midst of disaster to just see people come
Absolutely.
together.
Yes.
I've met people that have come from hours away just because they like
Felt
their
led to
hearts
come
were they were just drawn here.
Yeah.
So
Lindsey, thank you so much for coming. We
thank you for
appreciate
having
you.
me.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks
you.
for your
Nice to
love
see
and,
you.
and
Thank
care.
you.
You represent so many people. that are, like you said, ascending upon Sullivan to take care of us. But appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah.
We look forward to partnering with you here in the future in our community.
Yeah, thank you so
Absolutely.
much. Please, no matter who you are, come get resources. We have them for everybody. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's
That's at
Lindsey
13 West
Skelton,
Jackson
everybody.
Street,
13
so,
West Jackson
yes.
Street, located on the south side of the square. And I'll tell you, I appreciate her efforts, but she had my heart with Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a huge Mr. Rogers fan. I was Mr. Rogers for Halloween a couple of years ago.
I see.
And Mr. Rogers, it's those formative childhood years, I think, that develops our character and molds us. And I remember my grandfather would pick me up from kindergarten every day. And of course, when I was even younger than that, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, and we watched PBS, right? We watched Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers, and Mr. Rogers was probably around the same age as my grandfather. So it's that wholesomeness. And so, man, what a thing. And I do remember that when times are tough and when times are scary and there's times of turmoil, look for the helpers. There's always people stepping up willing to help. That's great message, very powerful message from them.
This is our monthly chat with the mayor here, and we're live on Facebook for this month. Again, it's brought to you by Gina Mills Country Financial Services. See Brian and Gina for all of your auto, home, life, business, and retirement needs. 21 North Court Street in Sullivan. You can always call them as well at 812-564-5002.
I think Party Line a few years ago got called in for Lady Lane Fairchild dishes that were for sale. I think that was pre-John Montgomery. That might have been Mr. Stanley. We have a guest behind the scenes here at the studio today that would appreciate that comment when it comes to Mr. Rogers. So yeah, John, obviously we spent a lot of time talking about the efforts going on, and it's going to be at the forefront over the coming months to come. Couple items from the city I do want to mention, and I'll tie this in with Governor Holcomb's visit to the City of Sullivan this past week. The community crossing grant that we talked about, street paving, right? Because city government still has to continue to operate. We still have to continue to move forward, whether that's chasing grants, whether that's the different economic development projects that we're working on. So stay tuned for some potential new businesses coming to the downtown area over the next several months. We're working with some people wanting to do that. Not at liberty to disclose that at this time, but just know there's a lot of conversations as we continue to move forward. New home construction that's finally going to take place starting in the next 30 days. I can now tell you in the next 30 days on North Broad Street, on North State Street, and as we continue to wait for surveys and things like that in the East Washington Street area. So obviously we're going to focus on rebuilding the South End, but we were already under redevelopment and revitalization of neighborhoods with other housing. So stay tuned. We were actually supposed to have a press conference last Wednesday to talk to our local development team, the different people that are stepping up and investing in the community. We did not want their efforts to be overshadowed with everything going on right now. So we postponed that, but look forward to meeting them very, very soon because, John, we talked about how special Sullivan is, the I Am Sullivan campaign, getting people to move to the city. And if there's another silver lining in this, that if you've thought about maybe relocating it, if there's ever been an inkling of, you know what, Sullivan's a great community. They got so many things going on, whether it's the vibrant downtown, the pool, the parks, the neighborhood revitalization. If this doesn't appeal to you now, the rebirth, the revitalization of literally physically the south side of the city of Sullivan, there's never been a better time to relocate here, right? Don't worry about a natural disaster. If you see the magic, if you see the emotional connection here, right, of the people of this community, and you want to be a part of something much bigger than yourself, if you're considering opening a small business, now's the time. Get in at the ground level, come to the City of Sullivan, reach out to the chamber, reach out to the city, reach out to the SBA. Now's the time to invest, right? The best thing you can do for healing of this community and also for profits, so to speak, for yourself, for your small business. The City of Sullivan, now's the time to do it. And if you're looking to relocate and send your kids to quality schools, or whether you're looking to retire and downsize, now's the time to build, right? As we rebuild together, now's the time to purchase your home here in the City of Sullivan. Now's the time to build your home here in the City of Sullivan. Now's the time to purchase a soon-to-be built home that you're going to see advertised. Be a part of something special. Say, you know what? I'm at a point in my life. I want to be something part that's much bigger than myself, now is the time to physically move and join us on this amazing journey we're going through here in the city of Sullivan. So please do that. I mentioned the community crossing and all the blacktopping, the money that we were awarded. We actually put out bids, and the bids came in.
Yes.
The bids came in, right? Last year we were $700,000 over bid. We were able to go back and reapply, be awarded the funds, and we're going to be doing nearly $1 million with the blacktop. It just so happens that Missouri Street, Illinois Street, and some of the streets that are in this impacted area were streets that had been approved.
Okay.
And I know folks probably thought, the mayor's told me that forever. But finally this year, we did get the approval. It was supposed to have been done last year, and the bids have now been accepted. So that comes from the Indiana Department of Transportation, which is head up by the governor's office, right? So, of course, as we're walking through the disaster area, I said, Governor, I said, these are the streets right here that your administration approved to be paved. I think I'm going to need a heck of a lot more than just street paving down here. Yeah, and he understood and he agreed. That area literally had already been scheduled for that. We might have to redo some things here because we don't want to go in and start paving streets and then continue to bring in heavy equipment. But sometime between now and I believe July 1st, you'll see street paving going on throughout the city of Sullivan. Please don't jump up on here and say, well, my street needs, right? We're aware. We're going around everywhere. The streets have already been designated, and you can look forward to seeing all those streets announced on the city social media pages. So we all know, John, every year, every summer, we try to do it in May. We try to do a citywide cleanup. We're still going to provide that citywide cleanup through the month of May. We've just got to get ready for it. It's going to be an even bigger cleanup this year, right, as we continue to clean up the south side of the city of Sullivan. But all residents, I'm sure even if you weren't in the impacted area, you might have had some storm damage. So if you have brushed limbs, we're continuing to try to keep our DPW crews going out doing the regular cleanup, and then also look forward to the citywide May Days cleanup going on here in the city of Sullivan. Speaking of May Days, I don't have the date in front of me, but we also do have May Days coming up. Also, I believe there's a sheet on my desk or in my top drawer over here for another event. If you're sitting there, it'd be the top left-hand drawer. Just bring me a stack of papers, please. We do have a vendor fair going to be happening, I believe, on April 13th at the Sullivan Civic Center. I believe that's going on. Matter of fact, thank you so much. I appreciate everybody's volunteering, taking time to care, right? It's a spring kind of thing. It's a craft and vendor show. It's the 50-plus vendors, handcrafted goods, boutiques, soaps, candles, wineries, custom jewelry, tumblers, chocolate, candies, wood, artisans,
yes.
Artisans, okay, and more, sorry. Free admission plus drawing for door prizes. That is April 15th, correction, not the 13th. April 15th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Sullivan Civic Center, located at 344 North Main Street. Be sure to check that event out. May Days is happening on May, and if somebody wants to look at their social media to find out when that is, I can bring that date to you, but there's going to be May Days located in downtown Sullivan, I believe. Brown Baggers is setting something up. Different things are going on in the downtown area. Festivities for families and everybody in the community. That's going to happen. The May Days event. She did mention the Easter baskets earlier. Like I said, I know there's so many people that are trying to work tirelessly to get Easter baskets out for this weekend. She mentioned Loads of Hope, the Tide truck that's been down here. I also want to be sure to reiterate that everyone affected, I hope you're watching today, but be sure to take advantage of the one-stop shop, basically the one-stop site happening here at City Hall at 110 North Main Street. That is in conjunction with Governor Holcomb's office. He was able to help us set up right here the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, the Department of Insurance, the Department of Workforce Development, Family and Social Services, the IHCDA, that's the Indiana Housing Community Development Authority that's providing these vouchers, the Department of Health, and the Department of Homeland Security. We also have volunteer organizations and also non-for-profits. The Hamilton Center is here to talk with folks that might have been directly impacted. Southern Baptist Convention Disaster Relief is set up here at City Hall, and also the American Red Cross. So please, I was walking through yesterday with our DPW director, J.D. Wilson. We were just kind of going what I would say used to be door to door, right? Property to property, and talking with folks that were outside. And they said, well, we think we might have everything we need, right? We're uninsured. We're going to go somewhere else. What in the world who can provide something for me? Even if you don't know, you could possibly qualify. It doesn't hurt to please come up here to City Hall, 110 North Main Street, and stop at our one-stop site, okay? And all those entities, all those government agencies that I just mentioned to you, that's why they're here. They're here that you can walk through, talk to each and every one of them, and register and find out exactly what it is you qualify for.
How long will they be here at the new city?
Until needed.
Okay.
Right? But it's important. Don't say, oh, I forgot all about it, and they're stuck, because over time they're going to see less and less folks come in.
Okay.
That's not just for city residents. That is anybody that has been impacted by the storm. Please stop up here at City Hall and see us at 110 North Main Street. I mentioned a minute ago, John, the May days. That is May the 13th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. I know there's an In This Together, I believe is the name of the 5K going on at that time. That's going to start around 8 a.m. I'm not sure what time registration starts for that. So the May Days event is from 10 a.m. to 4. But before that, come downtown around 8 a.m. on May 13th. And my gosh, what better timing for an In This Together event, a mental health awareness event, 5K, put on by the Heart of Sullivan. I know they did one last year and maybe even one before that, and it's been such a successful event. So many people come out. It's going to be located and going to take place here in the downtown area. So that event's going to be going on. The May Days event is going to be going on. I lost that one, but that's all right. On May 13th, the food, the vendors, all of those things, great things going on. Be sure to check out the city's Facebook page for that event coming up in the month of May. John, we did, even in the midst of all this, the Misfit Muscle, we welcomed them to the downtown area. I know the chamber had a ribbon cutting for them.
Did.
They're located there on the west side of the square. They've had people come in and sign up for membership, so check them out today. They're on the west side of the square. Can't thank enough all the organizations that keep stepping up, but especially the Salvation Army and Red Cross. They've really been soldiers during this event.
We want to mention too, today is Good Friday, so there is a Good Friday service at Crossroads Community Church. It's open for everybody. All are welcome to come. It's at noon.
Community-wide service.
It's a community-wide. Yeah, so it's at noon. We'll have it on probably at 1. We'll have a tape delay in case you couldn't get there, unless our phone lines are fixed by then. But at least we'll have it at 1 o'clock here on the radio. But if not, please come at noon and enjoy. It'll be a wonderful service. It might be a good time to come from while it's happening.
Absolutely.
So,
What better time for a Good Friday? The sun's shining, it's starting to warm up, and just to come down together and just stand with your brothers and sisters, and a time to reflect, time to worship together. Once again, Crossroads Community Church, Good Friday service going on for all denominations, all churches, all people throughout the community, whether you go to church or whether you don't go to church. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Come as you are. West side of the square at Crossroads Community Church today at noon. I hope to see you all there. I also know that I don't believe I have a date yet. Let me check. On May the 13th, the Terre Haute Realtors Association and also several other organizations, the Main Mix, Main Event Center, Midwest Printing, and the Terre Haute Area Realtors Association, or the Association of Realtors, are putting on a Sullivan Strong. This is Musicians for a Cause. That's going on. 100% of proceeds go to Sullivan. That is May the 13th, 2023, the Main Event Center in Terre Haute, Indiana, featuring a silent auction and a guitar raffle. Comedy by Hayden Ray. I can't pronounce his last name. Anthony Volivet, John Moore, Patrick Eaton, and Samuel Owens. Those are going to be some comedians going on. May the 13th, this is going to start at 3 p.m. and it's going to go till midnight. So, wow, what a huge event. There's also going to be bands there only on Sundays. Stampede, Chinese Jailbreak, Stereo Bella, and Deaf Flood.
where's that?
I hope I pronounced all those right. That is going to go on at the Main Event Center in Terre Haute, Indiana. I don't have an address on that. To buy tickets, you can call 812-553-3533 or 812-234-8732. We're also going to be sharing this on the city's Facebook page. Once again, it's May the 13th, 3 p.m. until midnight, so it's an entire day-long event.
Big event.
Wow, thank you so much. I also know there's a couple businesses in Terre Haute that are going to be on a certain day. You can purchase, like, I believe Mod Pizza and another business, Popeyes maybe. I can't remember. 100% of their proceeds that day are going to go to benefit. Not 10% of their sales, not 50% of their sales, 100% of their sales. Once I get that information, I will get also that out to you as well. But yes, the comedians and bands, proceeds benefiting Sullivan Relief efforts coming up on May the 13th. Also, on April the 12th, that is this Wednesday, God bless, thank you to our friends at WTWO News Channel 2. They're going to be doing a telethon all day from 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. So 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. this Wednesday, April 12th, there's going to be a telethon raising proceeds, raising funds for this tragic event. You know, John, we talked a lot about the volunteers. We talked a lot about all the things going on. Also, I want everybody to make sure you're aware of scams, right? Don't let the contractor come up with a couple 2x4s in his back and then promise to save your soul for $5,000 or $10,000. Make sure that they're vetted. Make sure you talk to somebody. So just be aware of that. We do have a lot of good people coming to help, but at the same time, there are people that try to take advantage of horrific situations. So be aware of that. We are trying to coordinate kind of a family chat tentatively this Tuesday. So for the folks that were affected, directly impacted, a little kind of personal chat with the mayor. No cameras, no media, just kind of one-on-one to discuss and hear from you on your unmet needs. So tentatively, we're going to try to do this on Tuesday where we can all sit down and just kind of have a family chat. I'd like to go over some things with you one-on-one. So, John, that's pretty much everything that I have. I know I've left so much out today, and I know the show ran a little long today. It's a long show. What we try to do, not everybody can sit down and watch us for an entire hour. So hopefully our friends that take care of our social media can summarize this show today, put this together with some bulletin points and all the things to look forward to. So thoughts and prayers continue.
Yes.
With the ones that are affected, especially those ones that lost their loved ones, that lost their lives there. But long-term recovery is underway. It's around the corner. Can't emphasize enough in closing here the need for financial contributions. And the reason why we say that, because some of these resources that are coming in now are going to be used up, right? They're going to be here for a short time or the next coming weeks. Your financial contribution through the Sullivan County Community Foundation, you can go to the City of Sullivan social media. You can click on that link. If it's $5, $10, John, we've had $10,000 donations. We've had $15,000 donations. It doesn't matter if you feel led to give. I believe on Saturday there were over 100 different contributors. On Sunday there were over 100 different contributors. On Monday, there were over 100 different unique contributors. So I don't have all the dollar amounts. I know it has exceeded $127,000 as of a couple days ago. There's also pledges, several $100,000 worth of pledges that are coming in. And people might say, well, I want to make sure that my contribution directly makes a difference in the lives of those people. And I can assure you that's the link, right? So the United Way, they've been raising money on their end. We met with them yesterday and also kind of partnering with the community foundation. So I know folks that grew up in Sullivan and moved away that have started GoFundMe accounts. Please bring all your resources together. Let's harness them under the Sullivan County Community Foundation, which is an affiliate of the Wabash Valley Community Foundation. You can mail your check somewhere on South 8th Street. I don't have that address in front of me, but you can do that. You can also send your check here to 110 North Main Street at City Hall to Sullivan Tornado Relief, and we'll make sure that it directly impacts the impacted area and the families that are affected. You don't have to worry about anything else there. We're going to see that it's taken care of, and that's the way to do it.
Sounds good.
Long-term recovery, because those proceeds can be used 30 days from now, 60 days from now, 180 days from now, and the fundraiser doesn't end. We have to continue to push. We have to continue to bring monetary donations. That's why we appreciate the event going on May 13th. That's why we appreciate the telethon going on WTWO this Wednesday, April the 12th, John. So Once again, so many things to cover, so many great things going on as we continue to take care of our community and also get back to the basics of providing services that the people of this community demand and deserve.
Happy Easter, man.
Happy Easter, brother.
Yes.
Have a great weekend. Hope to see you at noon today at Crossroads Community Church. God bless you. Enjoy the rest of your Holy Week and a very, very happy Easter to all Sullivan families. And God bless you all. God bless the folks from all over the country, folks that I don't know their names, that I'll never have the privilege of meeting. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for giving during this very difficult time for our community. Happy Easter to you.
Again, this has been the Monthly Chat with the Mayor, brought to you by Gina Mills, Country Financial Service of Sullivan. See Brian and Gina for all of your insurance needs, like auto, home, life, and business insurance and retirement needs. Call 812-564-5002 or stop by 21 North Core Street in Sullivan. We'll see you next month. Thank you for watching.